This is what I don't think people realize. And I'm going to tell you my thought process right now. And if I'm incorrect in my thought process, let me know. Sometimes people will drink, they get intoxicated, they drive, they hit somebody, right? In your situation, you're telling the court, I'm intoxicated. I see two homeless people. They're not bothering anybody. And I go up and attack them. And I know that sometimes people are upset with homeless people, but the key to homeless people, you know what the key is? They're people without any homes, and they already have it rough, right? Maybe they're living on the streets because they've made that choice. Maybe they're living on the street because they have mental health issues. Maybe they're living on the street because they're addicted to drugs. Maybe they're living on the street because they choose to say, you know what, I'm gonna be a nomad. But I don't think any homeless person is like, you know what, I want to be on the streets and I'm expecting somebody to beat me up. (2024) CR 011095 State versus Luis Fernando Acura. Could I have parties announced?
I can definitely for the state.
Maxwell Rhodes Jr. for the defense.
And are you Mr. Acura?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you all waived PSI in this case. I took a plea of no contest from you to count one on March 17th, and it was originally set for April 10th for sentencing, but then there were other issues. I believe the court was in trial or attorneys were in trial. And so now it's being called today for sentencing. Are both parties ready to proceed, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense.
We are.
According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 6 years in the prison. There's a $2,000 fine. The state is going to be silent on your application for deferred adjudication. Taken in consideration was NIMAG number 760070. All right. So, defense, do you have any witnesses?
We do, Your Honor. We have 6 total.
All right, you may call your first witness.
We'd like to start with Dulce Okura.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
My name is Dulce Okura.
All right, so I'm going to need you to make sure that you keep your voice up because the court reporter needs to hear and I need to hear, okay?
Okay.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Ms. Dulce, how are you familiar with Luis?
He's my nephew.
And so clearly you've known him all your life.
Correct.
Now, how often do you interact with Luis?
Very often I see them like every week.
Okay. How would you describe Luis?
He is a very affable and dependable person. So
is it fair to say then that you've pretty much obligated him to accept and acknowledge what he's done?
correct, because it's not going to go away. It's something that he did and it's something he has to reflect on.
Are you prepared to report him to his probation officer or to this court to let them know that he's messing up?
Yes.
Would you be prepared to hold him accountable in the event that he messes up?
Yes, it will always be held accountable.
I have nothing to say.
All right, any questions?
Just briefly, Ms. Okura, so Mr. Okura is your nephew, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess it sounds like you guys have a pretty...
That's what I want to know, if you know or have any ideas.
I don't. What I told him is, like, if he has any problems, he has, like, his family, he has, me and my brothers to talk to, so we can walk him through, like...
In the event that he were to start slipping or going off the rails, so to speak, are you prepared to inform his probation officer or this court and report him for not doing what he's supposed to be doing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you heard the questions to your sister about you all sound like a really tight family, especially living in the big house. Any ideas of things that you would say you could do that you didn't do in the past to better stay in communication with Luis to make certain that this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I can be a little bit more open, be more available for him. I felt like I was available for him before, but
Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Desiree Cura?
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Okay. And Mr. Buda, how are you related to Luis?
He is my stepson.
Okay. And,
All right, defense, you may proceed.
okay. Now, sir, how do you know Luis?
He's my friend from school
And how long have you known him?
since the 7th grade.
7th grade?
Yes.
And how would you describe, we'll pass the witness around.
Mr. Barrios, so if I'm understanding correctly, you're aware of the person that Mr. Okuda was hanging out with on the night that the assault occurred. Okay, and you had previously talked to him about how you thought this person was a bad influence, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so Mr. Okuda still chose to hang out with that person after you
Yes.
spoke with him?
After the incident, he really never
Spoke with that
spoke to him.
person, okay.
talked to him.
So, I mean, if he didn't listen to you back then when you were trying to deter him from hanging out with this person, do you think if he was granted probation and he was messing up that he would listen to you now?
Yes.
What's the difference between now and then?
Because he knows that I'm always like there for him, I guess, since I'm doing this.
Okay. We pass the witness, Judge.
I'll call your next witness.
Priscilla Galindo?
Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record, please.
Priscilla Galindo?
All right, defense.
And Priscilla, how are you related to Luis?
He's my son.
Okay. Now, you heard some of the testimony earlier, I guess throughout high school, Luis was, I guess, sharing his time between yourself and his father?
Yes, would regularly be 1 week with me and 1 week with his father.
Okay. And how would you describe him through high school?
He has always been a humble and very polite. He always accommodates to help other people, and he's very playful. He gets along with with everybody in the family, with his side, his dad's side, and my side.
Now, did you have a chance to speak to him about what happened?
Yes, I did.
And how would you describe that conversation?
He knows that I have always told him I'm sorry, every act has a consequence, and we talked, and he has remorse as what he did, and he understands that he did something wrong.
Now, are you familiar with what he did?
Yes,
And you're aware that he attacked a homeless person,
yes, I am.
hurt him bad enough that he needed to be taken to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. Now, would you say that you saw anything in his behavior or his personality or his conduct leading up to the incident that would have caused you to believe something was wrong?
No, because like I said, that he has always been helpful with everybody. It actually took me from surprise because when we are driving, he actually gives money also to the homeless. So that's something that caught me off in surprise at what had happened that day.
Now, were you aware that he was drinking alcohol at the days or times leading up to the incident?
Only one time. And it was when he had asked me for permission to go to a party. And when I picked him up, he was intoxicated.
And did you talk to him about that?
Yes, I did.
And did you,
His dad and myself talked to him about it. That moment when I picked him up, I called his father and let him know how I had picked him up from that party.
okay. And was he grounded or was there any consequences?
Yes, he was grounded and there were consequences. And we spoke to him that he wasn't supposed to be doing that and he wasn't at the edge of consuming alcohol either.
Now, when the incident happened, it happened in the evening. Well, let me back up. When the incident happened, was he staying with you or with his father?
He was staying with both of us at that time.
Okay. And that night, did anybody know where he was at?
Yes, that night he was at my house and he's been very on top of his stuff. And as far as I know, it's been almost a year or about a year.
It would be Luis J. Okuda.
All right. If you come forward. Okay.
If you're finding this story captivating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more gripping true crime content. Your support means a lot. Thank you.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you. And Mr. Okuda, how are you related to Luis?
I'm his father.
Now, how would you describe Luis through high school?
Throughout high school, I mean, he never got into any issues as far as any issues with his classmates or anything like that. He's always on top of things, trying to help out people and things like that. So,
How would you describe his personality?
his personality, sometimes he can be stubborn. He's always trying to accomplish the things that he puts out to, as far as whatever he sets his mind to, he'll try to overcome that as well.
Now, when you learned of the incident, what was your initial response or your initial feeling?
I was disappointed and upset with him.
Okay. Did you have a chance to talk to him about the incident?
Yes, I have.
And how would you describe that conversation?
When I spoke to him about the incident, I explained to him, I mean, there was no reason for him to put his hands on anybody. When I spoke to him, he is fully aware of what the outcome and everything that can happen today. But yeah, he is remorseful as far as all of that is concerned.
Now, we heard that since the incident happened, he's come to live with you full time.
Correct.
Is that something you and Priscilla spoke about?
Correct.
And how did y'all come up with that decision?
I mentioned that to his mom, just because I know his friend lives around that area, and at my house, I have a strict curfew on him. When he's at my house, I have security cameras everywhere, and I keep a close eye on him as far as what needs to get done. And that was the conversation with his mom that.
You said you talked to him about the incident. How would you describe his mindset or his view on what he did?
His mindset, he's fully aware of what he did. I did scold him as far as what he did. I did tell him that he had never had put his hands on absolutely anybody. As far as that incident, when we spoke about it, he is taking the necessary actions to better himself as far as that's concerned.
Now, you and I and your son sat in my office and watched videos of what happened.
Correct.
And you're fully aware of what he did.
Yes.
You're aware of the condition of the gentleman that he assaulted.
Correct.
And what is your take on what he did?
My take on what he did, like I stated, it's very disappointing that he did that. I always try to talk to him as far as what he needs to do. And like I stated, I have always told him never to put his hands on somebody. And that's pretty much it. Just disappointed as far as what happened that day.
Now, while we can never predict what people are going to do, just the way you couldn't predict that he was going to do what he did this time. But in your gut, in your heart, do you believe this is something that could potentially even repeat itself?
That's a hard question. I know after speaking to him, he's fully aware of all the consequences that
Do you have any other witnesses?
Just my client himself, sir.
All right, if you'll come forward. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record. All right, you may proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Now, Luis, rather than ask you questions, is there a statement or something you would like to tell this court in reference to everything that is going on here today?
Yes. Your Honor, I just would like to say that I've never been in a situation like this. My mom has always taught me to look out for those who are in need. And when I found out with what I did and I saw the pictures,
What do you mean when you found out what you did?
I didn't really remember that night until the next day.
Okay.
And when I went to my attorney and he showed me the pictures and the video, I was shocked. I was disappointed in myself because I just couldn't believe what I did. And like my dad and my mom said, every action has a consequence. I'm prepared and willing to accept whatever the outcome of this court today. I have also started going to anger management classes. And yesterday was actually my first meeting because they didn't have an available time to register until yesterday. And I have also done EPA. It's a 608 EPA test, which is allows me to purchase refrigerant and recycle it, reclaim it, and this also I forgot what the other R was. So, I want to continue to be out here, to contribute and be with my family. I want to be a contractor just like my dad. So I want to keep studying to be a contractor. I want to do HVAC and electrical. And those are the first two licenses I'm planning on getting.
Now, let me ask you, so were you drinking the night that this happened?
Yes, I was.
And were you drunk at the time that it happened?
Yes.
And that's why you don't remember what happened?
Yes, I think I blacked out.
Now, you heard, as I had talked to you about this person that you were hanging out with.
Yes.
So he warned you about this guy,
Yes, he did.
but you still hung out.
Yes.
Why?
It's more of he was the closest person to me. He asked me to hang out that night and I was up and I guess I was bored just being up and I went up and I hung out with him.
Now you're living with your dad.
Sure.
And you heard your dad say that he keeps a really strict eye on you.
Yes.
He has a curfew for you.
Yeah, every time I go out with my friends, I have to be back then.
Now, how do you feel about him basically treating you like you were still 16 or something and having a curfew and watching you?
Well, I think it's a good thing. I'm able to make my own decisions, but I feel like he's just looking out for me and wants the best for me.
Okay. Now, you're 18 now.
Right.
And if you're on probation, you understand it potentially is going to be a long probation or a long deferred probation.
Yes.
And are you prepared to allow your father to continue with his restrictions on you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you signed up for the anger management course. Is this a document they gave you?
Yeah. I was also supposed to sign up for 2 other classes that they have here. One of them being the healthy relationship class, which helps you maintain and build healthy relationships with people. And the other would be the drug recovery class, which they talk about the things that the substances you take do to your body and help you recover from them.
Now, it's they circled class 5. Why did they circle class 5?
Because at the time when I went in, that's the session that they were on. They were on session 5. And the facilitator for the program told me that next week I would take chapter 6. And then going forward, I would go back to 1, 2, and 3, and then 4.
Now, I don't know if you care to say.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Now, you're building, trying to move forward. You hear everybody saying that they're going to be there for you. How do we make sure that what happened that night doesn't happen again?
Well, like I said, I'm going to take this drug recovery class. I'm no longer drinking, no longer smoking, because at the time I was smoking too. So, like they said, I'm very open now. I'm not very good. I wasn't very good at sharing my feelings and how I feel, but now I feel like I'm getting better at that, and I have a lot of people I could talk to if I ever have the issue.
Now, you work with your dad. How often are you working with him?
Pretty much every day except Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay. And what are typically your work hours?
From like 8 to like 2, sometimes even later, but no later than 5.
Okay. And he's helping you make time to get to your appointments or reporting or whatever you need to do?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to make sure we're clear, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency 608 Clean Air Act has to do with refrigeration.
Yes.
And you've taken the initial test for that.
Yeah, I took the test last week, and I'm just waiting for them to get back with me with the certification.
Now, how is that going to help you working with your father?
I'll be able to purchase refrigerant if he ever needs me to. He could send me to the store, and I can get material, the material that he needs, such as the refrigerant, contactors, any part to fix the AC unit. He can send me to go get that.
Now, does that have any kind of certification as far as working on the units themselves, or is that something different?
Yeah, with the EPA 608 certification, I can pump the unit up with refrigerant as well as recycle it, take it out, put it into the tank, and then take it to dispose it somewhere else.
Okay. Now, if you're granted probation or deferred probation, we talked about there's going to be community service, there's going to be funds, there's going to be classes, there's going to be a whole list of things that it's going to be expected of you. And are you prepared to engage and complete all the requirements that this court may place upon them?
Yes, I'm prepared. My dad's schedule is very flexible, so if I ever need to check in somewhere or go somewhere, he'll be able to take me.
Now, you heard your mom saying that she could move around at a moment's notice. Have you relied on her or asked her for help here in the recent past?
Yeah, the other day she took me to my anger management.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share with the court?
No.
We'll pass the witness.
If you're still with us, make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with more shocking true crime stories. Your support helps us bring these stories to light. Don't miss out on what's next.
Any questions?
I just have a couple of questions, Mr. Okuda. And I'm really just trying to figure out what happened that night. So how did you come into possession of alcohol on that day?
There was a guy outside the corner store that I asked him, and he bought it.
Okay. And so it's your testimony that you're not consuming alcohol anymore? Okay, and you're not around alcohol anymore? Okay, and then I was going to ask you about the smoking. Thanks for being honest about that. But you're not doing that
I
anymore.
haven't smoked since last year, November.
Okay. And I guess just as far as, because you're with 2 other people that night, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so, I mean, one of them had a firearm. Did you know that he was going to have a firearm that night?
Yes, I was with him.
And why were you hanging out with him?
Like I said, I was just bored, just looking for something to do, and he invited me over to hang out. So
I mean, you realize that that's not a good choice that you made that day, right?
yeah, I'm just,
Okay, and I mean, are you prepared to take the steps forward that you need to be held accountable for what happened that night?
yeah, I said I would be held accountable. I said I would take full responsibility for whatever happens.
Okay. No questions. No further questions, Judge.
All right. This is what I don't think people realize. And I'm going to tell you my thought process right now. And if I'm incorrect in my thought process, let me know. Sometimes people will drink, they get intoxicated, they drive, they hit somebody, right? In your situation, you're telling the court, I'm intoxicated. I see two homeless people. They're not bothering anybody. And I go up and attack them. And I know that sometimes people are upset with homeless people. But the key to homeless people, you know what the key is? They're people without any homes. And they already have it rough, right? Maybe they're living on the streets because they've made that choice. Maybe they're living on the street because they have mental health issues. Maybe they're living on the street because they're addicted to drugs. Maybe they're living on the street because they choose to say, you know what, I'm going to be a nomad. But I don't think any homeless person is like, you know what, I want to be on the streets and I'm expecting somebody to beat me up. And what's bad about your case is that according to the police reports and the stipulation, they're just these two homeless people. They're in a vacant lot. So vacant lot means there's not a business going on there. They're just hanging out in a vacant lot, minding their own business. And guys come up, that's you and your other friends, and start beating the guy with a metal pole for no reason. And then the other homeless person tries to intervene, trying to say, hey, stop. And then what ends up happening? That person ends up getting beat up. And then another person you're with pulls out a gun when somebody else tries to help, saying, hey, stop. And then the police can't even talk to the first victim. And the reason why they can't talk to him because he's unconscious because you beat him upside the head with a metal pipe. And so on top of the fact that whatever trauma that person is dealing with and they're homeless, who knows, maybe their mom didn't love them. Maybe they're addicted to drugs. Maybe they have mental health issues. But I don't think people realize enough with the homeless people. Number one, do you know how difficult it is to be homeless? Let me just tell you some of the difficulties. First, you got to find a place to stay where the police won't come by and move you. Then you got to find a place to stay where you can be safe and maybe nobody won't bother you. Then you got to find a place to wash up. Then you got to find a place to where you're going to use the restroom. Then you got to find a place to figure out, what am I going to eat today? Then you got to find a place to say, hey, is it going to be cold tonight? Where can I get a blanket? Where I'm going to sleep? I'm going to be sleeping on the ground. Those are all things you got to figure out. And then now this person has to throw into the mix some young boys going to say they're intoxicated, come and beat me upside my head with a metal pole. Now I'm in the hospital. I don't know because it's not in the stips. I don't know if he is suffering from brain damage right now, but I know he'll never be the same. And your excuse for this whole thing is, I'm with some friends that I really shouldn't be with, and they're really not true friends to me, and I'm drunk. So address those issues for the court. Because to me, getting intoxicated, driving a vehicle and hit someone, you know, in your vehicle, you don't know you're really intoxicated, you just think you're a buzz. This is beating up some homeless people with a metal pole and a metal pipe, and they didn't do anything to you. They're just minding their business.
If I may, Your Honor,
I want to hear his thought process. And here's the thing. I will tell you this, and I tell people this all the time, and I want you to know I'm serious when I tell you this. This is my thought process. But if what I'm saying is incorrect and you feel as though it's incorrect, tell me. I'm not going to hold that against you. I want this conversation because I'm trying to figure out your thought process about this. And the thought process that I'm so intoxicated, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not too intoxicated to tell this officer that I'm 15, which makes me a juvenile, so they got to call my parents. That's what I want to talk to you about, okay?
Yeah, and again, Judge, I'm gonna let him answer the question, but the one thing I will want to add, of everything you said, I agree with, but one thing.
Sure.
Not to disclose attorney-client privilege, but the one thing that Luis and I did speak about, that I was very adamant to him about, is I don't want you going into court and coming up with excuses. I do want you to be honest with the judge and tell her the reasons, tell her what was going on.
Yeah.
So while you're
That's what I wanna
characterizing
hear.
things one way,
Yeah.
we're not here to create excuses.
Oh, no, I don't
This
think
is
it's
to
an
let you-
excuse. I understand that he's saying he's intoxicated. That's why he did this. Are you saying that if you were not intoxicated, you would not have done this? All right, so I understand that. So back to my thought process. What's going on?
That night, I remember the part leading up to it, which was going up to him. I thought that he was staring at me hard, and I asked him. That's all I remember, is asking him something. And then after that point, I don't remember. But
So you thought he was staring at you?
yes, and then all my emotions, like I wasn't very good at sharing how I feel, and emotions were bottled up.
So what were you so angry about? What emotions were bottled up?
At the time, I was failing a couple of classes
Okay.
in school, and I was very tired, going back and forth from my mom's house to my dad's house.
Okay.
They've been separated a very long time, and that night I was just remembering how it used to be,
Mhm.
when they were together, and it was hard, going from one household to another every week, and I don't remember what happened after I went up to him and thought that he was staring at me, and I was thinking with my emotions instead of using my head, thinking properly.
All right, thank you for letting me know. All right, any other questions?
Not from the state judge.
Not for the defense.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to find you guilty. Court is going to sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's a $2,000 fine. Time and money will run concurrent. Take in consideration NIMAC number 760070. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. There's to be restitution, if any, to Andoni, Andoni Valadares, Jose Aguilar, and no contact with Adani Valadares and Jose Aguilar. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because this is plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, your plea bargain agreement was for a cap of 6 years in the prison silent. And I will tell you, I was at the 6 but I listened to you. And I understand your age. I understand the alcohol that was involved. I understand the influence that other people had on you. That's why I sentenced you to the minimum. But I have to also balance that with the fact that here you have someone who wasn't doing anything other than just living their life, and they're in the hospital unconscious, beaten with a metal pole. And I can assure you, I'm sure that was probably very painful for them. And then I don't know if they have brain damage or not, but when you couple that with the other friend who was with you, who then pointed a gun at somebody and then firing shots in the air, sure, that was very terrifying for them. So I understand that 2 years is a lot. You're young. You came in. I do appreciate your coming in. I do appreciate the improvements you made in your life, but sometimes there's punishment in rehabilitation. So you can still live your life. when you go to prison, don't become institutionalized, okay? All right, good luck to you.
In the end, this wasn't just a case about a violent act. It was a story about choices, consequences, and whether someone that young could truly come back from something this brutal. The judge made it clear this wasn't about destroying a life. It was about making sure another one didn't get forgotten. So, now the question is, will Luis rise to the second chance he's been given? Or will this just be another name in a file? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for joining us in uncovering the chilling details of this case. If this story has left you disturbed or reflective, please share your thoughts and reflections. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay with us as we continue to explore the stories that reveal the darkest sides of human behavior. Together, we keep these lessons alive, ensuring the voices of victims are never forgotten. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe or follow.